guys, so I really wanted to do a video on like my experience with radiation treatment. I know that everyone is different, everyone's treatment is different, everyone's medicine varies, everyone's side effects vary depending on who they are as a person, but I just wanted to give you my experience. When I got diagnosed and I started going to MD Anderson, I went to my chemo doctors and then I had my radiation doctors. So they're like two separate groups or teams of people. And so I would have appointments with them separately. And I started off with chemo first. I had little side effects, but I mean, I lost my hair, but nothing like that interrupted really my life too much where I was like, you know. But when I started radiation, after I finished those 9 weeks of chemo, I started doing radiation every single day for 7 weeks. And I did it Monday through Friday for 7 weeks. During that time, I did chemo once a week, every Monday. And those two combined, you know, I get different side effects just from that. But I will say it was nothing like I thought it was going to be, because when I hear everyone going through chemotherapy, it sounds so sad. And I didn't have really bad side effects with chemotherapy. I lived my normal routine with that, just a little bit more tired after my first round. Second and third round was a breeze, but when I hit radiation, that was when I got super sick. My doctors told me the side effects, but they didn't sound as bad. My doctor sounded serious, but the side effects didn't sound super serious. So before I started my treatment, they told me dry mouth and fatigue and illness, like sickness, vomiting. And I was like, okay, vomiting doesn't sound fun, but considering that during chemo they told me that I was going to have that issue and I didn't, I was like, I'm not going to have that problem. The dry mouth just didn't sound like a big deal to me, and they said thick mucus as well. I was like, no big deal, like, not a big deal. And they said there'll be times where you feel like you have strep throat and whatever, and I was like, oh, I've had strep throat before. Like, yes, I feel sick, but that's not that bad. Let me tell you, it was bad. So somewhere in this video, I'll put a clip like right here of me getting my radiation mask made. So yeah, that was probably the most soothing part about radiation. I actually enjoyed getting my mask made. My cancer was behind my nose, or like my tumor, so I got radiation from the neck up. And so I had to wear a mask that covered my whole entire face. And the mask sticks to the table that you're, like it connects to the table that you lay on, keeps you very, very still. I'm claustrophobic. Getting the mask made was so different because it was warm, whatever. It was like getting a massage. But during the actual radiation, being stuck to a table with something just like you can't move for almost an hour is the worst. And it's every single day, so it was horrible. I'm so claustrophobic, and that experience makes me even more claustrophobic. I don't like people like cuddling and all on me. I don't like when people tap me a lot. I don't like to be touched. It's really made me very, very much more claustrophobic than I already was before. With that being said, starting treatment, the first 2 weeks I'd say I was fine. I didn't notice a difference in anything. After that, I started getting sick. I started vomiting occasionally. I was very tired, and this is the time that I stopped going to school. So about 2 weeks into my radiation, I stopped going to school. What made me really stop going to school is because I got sick in the middle of class and I had to leave, and I threw up in school, and I didn't want to be a disturbance to anyone else. I knew no one felt bad. Like, everyone was so supportive at my school, but I didn't want to disrupt anyone. So the first day that I had to throw up in school, I went to the registrar's office and I was like, I'm not gonna be coming to school anymore. It's getting kind of bad. I'm not feeling good. And that was the end of that. So right after that, I started getting really sick. and dry mouth made it so hard to eat. So that was like what hit me first, dry mouth. Then my taste buds started like going away. I started getting my radiation burns, which I don't know if you can see very well, but I have like scarring from it. My tips on radiation burn, like the burns it gives you, slather yourself 24 hours a day with Aquaphor and aloe vera gel. My mom was a really good caretaker. She would even wake me up in the middle of the night to slather my neck in this stuff. I never had pain. I had the burns, but it never hurt me. I did not feel the need to scratch it. I did not feel the need to mess with it. Sometimes it was like my skin would peel off in whole layers, but really I think that was putting on so much Aquaphor and stuff. It was getting rid of that dead skin. I didn't have any pain from that. It looked so painful. When people would look at me, they'd be like, oh my god, does that hurt? Didn't hurt at all. I've heard so many people that they can't take the pain of that, and I had no pain with it. And I think it had a lot to do with listening to my doctors and my mom making sure that I had something covering my neck, that thick Aquaphor and aloe vera gel at all times. But the burns inside of you, like inside my mouth, since I did get neck up, I had my whole inside, like my mouth and my throat and everything burned. And this was the most difficult part of everything, was that, because it made me not eat. I lost my appetite. I was down to like 80 pounds, and this is very, very, very underweight. That's about 20 pounds underweight. I was clinically anorexic, and it was horrible to say the least. The words can't describe the pain I felt. Like the inside of your mouth. When they said strep throat, okay, when he told me strep throat, he really meant strep throat times 85 million. I can't imagine, like I can't put it into words, I can't express how painful it felt. It literally felt like someone's got a rod, put it in fire, and stuck it down my throat. That's what it felt like at all times. So I was on pain medicine around the clock. I'd say, like, people would be like, didn't you ever skip your medicine by accident? No, because I was in that much pain, so I would remember to take it. I had liquid morphine, I had hydrocodone, and morphine, I quit taking morphine because it made me sick, even more sick than I already was. It made me vomit. It never helped me with my pain, the liquid, so I stopped using that after about 3 doses, and I kept using my hydrocodone. And I took it in my mouth because, for whatever reason, the hydrocodone, the liquid hydrocodone, was really soothing going down my throat, and it would ease my pain instantly. But that didn't last long, so I was taking that as often as I could, as often as the doctor told me I could take it. And then they also gave me this like pink stuff that I squished around my mouth. I don't think it was the most awesome thing, but I used whatever I could. And eventually, all of that together took a huge toll on my body, and I think this is where it gets to the point where cancer patients start losing their lives, and unfortunately, and yeah, I know that sounds super blunt, but it is so true, and I went through it, so I know. And I got to the point toward about 2 weeks before I ended radiation. Things started getting really bad. The thick mucus, I forgot to mention that, the thick mucus on top of the burning throat was hell. I don't like using that word, but that is the best way I can describe it. It was hell. And I would literally be pulling out mucus out of my mouth, out of my throat, out of my nose, and in strands, like strings, because that's how thick it was. And I would choke, I would gag on it, and I had to sleep in this position. My mom would put pillows behind me, and I had to sleep in this position in order for me not to choke in the middle of the night. My mom had to start sleeping in the bed with me every single night, because I would wake up in the middle of the night choking. At this point, 2 weeks out of my radiation being finished, I'm at the 5-week mark. I start gagging and choking in the middle of the radiation, and so I start screaming and I'm crying, and someone comes in, they stop radiation immediately. Someone comes in and they let me up from the table, and I'm crying. She leads me to the restroom. She comes with me, and I just throw up, trying to get this mucus out since I'm choking. I ran to my mom and I was sobbing probably for an hour and a half straight because I did not want to finish my treatment. I told everyone I was done. I wasn't going back in there. I was not ever laying on that table again. So my radiation doctor had to come from MD Anderson to talk to me, and the radiation place was a separate building, or it's a separate building from the actual MD Anderson hospital, so she had to drive to come and talk to me, and which I thought was amazing because she took her time out to do that for me. And to be honest, I don't think I would have, I don't know what would have happened, but I don't know if I would have gone back in there if she hadn't done that. And so she came and she talked to me, and I ended up going back in, getting the rest of my treatment for the day. And from that point on, the radiation was in 3 sections. Each of the segments is about 13, 14 minutes long. Maybe not, they're like 10 minutes long. So in between there was like 5-10 minute gaps. So in between those gaps, one of the radiologists, she was pregnant, and I think her motherly instincts of her being pregnant, that kind of, I don't know, I kind of grasped onto that because I was put in such a weird like place at that time in my life that I felt like a child. I needed a mother. And so she came in, she was pregnant, and in between each of my sessions she would hold my hand and she would talk to me. She would rub my leg, and like I said, I was pinned down to a table. So someone there with me was the most amazing thing, and that's literally the only reason why I got through it. Because during radiation, when the actual radiation beam is on, no one can be in the room, and in between the segments, they never bothered to actually come into the radiation room. They watched from behind a glass. And so she would come in between each segment and talk to me, hold my hand, so I knew someone was there with me. And that happened for 2 weeks straight. And actually, my very last week of radiation, I did not get chemo, but about 3 days, 2 or 3 days before my high school graduation, which was also 2 or 3 days before my last radiation treatment. My last radiation treatment was the day before I would graduate high school. Crazy. So I actually really hit rock bottom, and I had to go to the emergency room. And this was probably the place where I was like so like mellow, because I really thought, I didn't think I was gonna make it. And so I was really at the point where I was accepting that I could die at any moment and all of that. I was 80 pounds and very, very malnourished. And so I went to the emergency room, and I don't remember everything that happened there, because like I said, I was done, I was out of it. But I do remember pain meds around the clock. I got like pain meds what's it called? I got pain meds intravenously. So they inject it into my veins, and it works faster, it's stronger, it's way stronger. And I was also not eating. The whole thing with the emergency room was I needed calories, I needed food, I needed energy, and to be able to continue my fight. So the only thing I could do was get a feeding tube. But because I was so gone, it was very risky to put me under anesthesia for surgery. But it was either that or I was for sure not going to make it because I was so malnourished. So we did do the surgery, it was successful, and I got a feeding tube about 2 or 3 days before I graduated high school. And like I said, I had already finished going to school because I couldn't go to school anymore, obviously, but I was still able to graduate. And after I got the feeding tube, things did start getting better. I had blood transfusions. It was my goal to graduate high school. And so yeah, I graduated, and I was so happy to graduate high school. It was the hardest thing. I thought I was going to be able to walk across the stage like everybody else, grab my diploma. that was not the case. I had my cheer coach, who I love very much. She rolled me across the stage, got my diploma. Woohoo! I was so excited. But after that, I also finished my radiation the day before that. So I was basically cancer free, and it was the most amazing feeling. I will never forget ever in my life. I will never forget graduating, because it wasn't only about graduating high school. I went to the most amazing school. I went to Georgia Edge High School, and when I walked across that stage, I will never forget how everyone stood up for me and clapped for me and yelled for me and everything. Probably the most memorable moments in my life. That was way better than any experience I had in my whole life. I will never forget that. To have so many people supporting you, people you don't know, was the most touching feeling, and I will never forget that. I love everyone that went to my school, everyone that supported me, and my whole school was just amazing. So after that, things did go downhill after I stopped radiation, which is normal. It got bad for about 2 weeks, but thankfully I had the feeding tube. I was at home, which made me feel better. And then after about 2 weeks after that, I started the healing process. And I feel like I'm still in the healing process. I have the thyroid issue, but all in all, radiation was crazy, and I'm sure everything combined is why, but when I think back, I'm like, radiation nuts. Like, whew. Don't ever want to go through that again. I've seen so many, going to MD Anderson, you see so many different things. Sometimes I think I had it easy. And I know my struggle was so hard. Like I said, I wouldn't do it again. But I'm still here. I have all my limbs. I have a couple of scars, and that is it. There's some people that have lost half of their face. They've lost their eye, they've lost their ear, they've lost their leg, they've lost their arm. And I am still here on me. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to put this out here for anyone, because you're not alone. And yeah, please let me know if you have any questions, if you want to talk anything. Talk to me in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.